Are we living in an era with more revolutionary change than has been the case during the past? The answer is yes.
All change starts with self. Be the change you want to see in the world.
These are the strengths that somebody with autism, with ADHD or dyslexia could bring to an organisation, bring to your team.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Business Transformation Network's podcast. The BTN is a thought leadership network that provides transformational content across three main categories: people, process, and technology. This podcast is presented to you by the BTN and their editor and your host, me, Claudia Falzon. All links from this podcast will be provided in a description on iTunes, Spotify, and whichever app you listen to your podcasts on. Today with us we have Louise Ellekilde Fogstrup, who is the founder and partner of Enabling Change, a purpose-driven leadership and organizational change consultancy. Today's discussion will look at setting yourself up to make an impact and enabling change. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. Hi Louise, thank you for joining us today. So if you could start by introducing yourself, what you do, and the topic of discussion for our listeners.
Hello, Gloria. Thank you so much for having me today. I've been looking much forward to it. As you said, my name is Louise Fogstrup, and I'm the founder of the boutique consultancy Enabling Change. Enabling Change was founded out of the professional wish to enable leaders to successfully lead and implement change. Our approach is data-driven, as global research shows that leadership combined with structure are the key enablers for successful change. Personally, for the last 15 years, I've focused on leading change in business transformations across countries and cultures. I've had the pleasure of working with global organizations and supported many leaders in enabling successful change. On this journey, I have observed and supported many leaders entering into new roles. And the podcast today focuses on some of the key learnings from this process.
Great, thanks for that, Louise. So first and foremost, why should leaders consider how they land in their new role?
Well, a positive start is one of the biggest ingredients to your success when you as a leader are taking upon a new challenge. If you're off to a good start, it builds the foundation to deliver value quickly. Also, being realistic, few organizations hire senior leaders into a new role simply to maintain status quo. Often there is an expectation that they will bring something different to the table. Therefore, it's key to hit the ground running to make an impact fast. The concept is nothing new, and whether you have 100 days, shorter or longer, depends on your challenge and the organization.
And where do you believe most leaders fail in landing successfully?
There are many reasons, and it's never just one. The challenges I mostly see are not being clear on expectations and the impact that you're expected to make. It's also not being able to clearly articulate your vision and where you want to go. Often it's related to not onboarding your team sufficiently onto the vision and not being clear with the team what's for discussion and what's not. And finally, it's often simply lack of time or focus. You're off to a good start, but when the everyday starts coming, you lack the time or the support to follow up and keep the momentum going.
Thank you for that. And, Louise, how do you ensure that these leaders can onboard successfully?
Well, firstly, ensure that you come prepared. Prioritize to take the time before you even land into your role. Spend some time on your North Star vision and be sure that you can clearly articulate it. Also, spend some time on preparing yourself for how to meet your stakeholders and how you wish to onboard your organization. Then, once you've landed, involve your team in building the journey. This will both onboard them onto the vision, but also enables them to take ownership. And ensure you have the right support team around you and don't compromise here. As a senior leader, you're often under extreme time pressure, and many journeys lose momentum, not out of lack of focus or on purpose, but simply due to the lack of time. And finally, dare to set the journey free. Your vision is not for discussion, but by setting how you get there free, you also enable yourself to learn and adjust along the way.
Great, thank you for that. And, to set that sort of clear direction, Louise, how would you ensure that leaders can find their North Star?
Yeah, well, before you start onto the role, Try and reflect back to the dialogues and the expectations from the interview process and why you actually accepted the challenge in the first place. Then try and build this into a clear vision or a North Star. And this should be short and precise. A practical tip from several leaders I've had the pleasure of collaborating with is simply to take some time out to address and discuss the impact you wish to make and also visualize your vision. Here you can use a sparring partner, explain your vision to them and get them to mirror what they hear and help you put it into writing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Simply spending 2 times 1 hour by the way of preparation can actually get you a long way. It will help you get off to a good start, helping you set a clear direction for your next challenge.
Absolutely. Well, great point, Louise. Thank you. And, how would you say that leaders can build their team via, the business journey?
Well, linking back to the North Star, where you want to go is not for discussion, but how you get there is. And this is here that you need to involve your team in building the journey together, as this both give them insight into your vision and it also enables a shared ownership. It also gives you the opportunity to both challenge your team and to learn from them. And it allows you to get insights into where they see the biggest challenges. Many leaders do not take the time, or at least do not make the most of the time to build the journey and the team together. They tend to treat these as two separate things and build each separately. In my experience, the quickest route to success is when leaders do this together. They build the journey and the team as part of the same process.
So, what would you say the best way to do it is?
Well, tailor sprints with your leadership team with a clear purpose and clear outcomes that is centered around leadership time together, whether this is virtual or in person. Consider removing it from the business as usual setting and set up a process so everyone come prepared and ready to run once you meet and are ready to execute once you're done. A tip could be to use an external facilitator, as this gives you or your HR specialist the opportunity to truly engage and take part in the process without having to capture learnings or focus on time management. Also, a strong external facilitator can help mirror you and your leadership team on your journey, ensure that you actually walk the talk and act as a sparring partner and sounding board for both you and the team.
Amazing. Thank you, Louise. And if you could tell us a little bit about, working in sprints, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, the term sprints refer to the agile ways of working, where you time box a delivery and move forward with a practical test before building a solution full scale. When you're building your journey in short, well-defined sprints, this enables you to move forward quickly and to test your ideas and content whilst being able to learn and adjust along the way. It's simply a way of adding value quickly instead of spending months in a strategy setting with limited communication.
Thank you. And how many successful sprints cement a leader's place in an organization, would you say?
Well, yeah, I wish I could give you a magic number, but there's not. It simply depends on your team, the organization, and the challenge ahead. Typical, I would say 2 to 4 sprints when we meet in person, and typically centered around, 1.5 day workshop. If we run virtually, I would say 4 to 6 sprints, and then we would run shorter sessions of 4 to 6 hours, including break. This is a more intense way of working, but can give extremely good results.
Oh, that's great. And what pitfalls should leaders watch out for when, working in these sort of sprints?
Well, working in sprints requires proper preparation. You need to be clear on the purpose for each sprint and the outcomes from each sprint. You need to ensure that when you meet, you can truly work from the outset, and you need to have a quick follow up and also be clear and align on what is expected to happen after a sprint.
And with everything going on at the moment with remote working, what would you say the impacts are of remote working on landing successfully as a leader?
So, well, your preparation before you land in is more or less the same whether you're in person or virtually. You need to be able to clearly articulate your vision or North Star and the key value drivers. When we look at your stakeholders and reaching out, it is easier if you are in person because you have the benefit of all these small informal sessions like a coffee, a lunch, or simply bumping into each other.
Yeah, and what about the organizations, Louise?
Well, I think if you have a team in reality who's working across countries and time zones, onboarding and the first introductions will be virtual. But when we look at your direct leadership team, it does require a bit more when we run fully virtual, but it's absolutely doable. I've supported several leaders here during COVID in building their team. And what we could see is that you can build the same level of engagement and ownership virtually as in person, but it requires a bit more in-depth preparation. And I believe that when we look ahead, we will use a mix of virtual and in-person, and that our future focus will be on making the most of the time we have together in person when we choose to meet.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree any more with that. And Louise, obviously some organizations struggle in finding the right, support team. So how would you say that leaders can ensure that they do have that right support team?
As we discussed earlier, many journeys loses momentum due to lack of time, and having the right support team around you helps you keep focus and help you keep on track. So what's a minimum support team if you're a senior leader? Well, I would say you should need to have a strong HR specialist. The right HR support can proactively help you navigate the change journey and can also provide strong insights into the organization's culture and to your team. Then you need a finance expert. Besides the obvious financial focus, a finance expert can provide strong insights regarding having the right data to support and challenge your vision. And this can actually be a huge enabler for any successful journey. And finally, you will need a strong executive assistant, a person who will manage your calendar, ensure you're prepared for various meetings, and in general handle a lot of the smaller things and making things run smoother for everyone involved. The right executive assistant is a person who's constantly 2 steps ahead of you, ensuring that you're ready and can perform your best.
And should you also consider external people?
That's a very good point. Yes, you should, because the higher up you move in the organization, the lonelier the role. It's not that you yourself change, but how people see you and interact around you do. Therefore, ensure you have a good support group around you who can help you keep focused, mirror your progress, challenge you, act as your sounding board, and sometimes even just be there to listen. During your own career, you'll meet many good people and ensure to keep track of them so you know which people can help you enabling your success.
Amazing. Thank you, Louise. You've covered some great points there. And just, finish up this discussion, what would you often mention impact. What would you say the grace period is for making an impact as a new leader and why?
Well, the reason I focus on impact is because end of the day, as a senior leader, you're measured on the value add you deliver to the business. So it's expected that you can make an impact. Your grace period, well, that depends on the organization and the challenge that you've taken upon. No matter whether you have a short focus or a long focus, what I see truly matters is to be able to articulate your vision, that you onboard your team, and that you are flexible in how you achieve your vision. So you have the freedom to learn and adjust along the way.
Thank you. Perfect. I think that concludes our discussion really nicely, actually. So, thank you for joining us today, Louise, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We really hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. For more content like this, please subscribe to the BTN website. You can reach us on Twitter at thebusinesstn, or alternatively, you can email us at c.fousen@thebtn.tv. We read all emails and will always try to respond as soon as possible. Thanks again for listening and enjoy your day.